Question 6 asks us to find mean from a frequency table. So normally when we find mean, we add up all our pieces of information and divide it by how many pieces of information we have. So we need to think back to that method when we're trying to do it from a frequency table. So if we think about what this data here is showing us, zero people had 0 school dinners. So then we're told that 8 people had 1 school dinner. So if I was going to list all my data out, I'd have to write the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Then 12 people had 2 school dinners, so I'd write that out 12 times and I'd keep going. Then I'd write the number 3 out 6 times, the number 4 out 4 times, and the number 5 out 2 times. I'd then need to add all of those scores together. So rather than doing 1 add 1 add 1 add 1 add 1 add 1, it would be much quicker to do 1 times by 8. So this last column here, we've just done 1 times by 8 instead. We then need to add together 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 12 times, but a quicker way of doing that would be to do 2 lots of 12 or 12 lots of 2. So that's what we do here, 2 times by 12. So all of these are then following that pattern, 3 times by 6, 4 times by 4, and 5 times by 2. If I was then adding, doing mean normally, I'd add all of those together. So I then need to add all of the answers that I get there together. So this is just all of my data added together. So that's my data added together. I then need to divide that by how many pieces of data I have. So I wrote down 8 number 1s, 12 number 2s, and so on. So the total number of pieces of data I've got is all of these added together, which is my 32. So I then do my 76 divided by 32. That's fine to have an answer as a decimal, you don't need to round it to the nearest whole number. Question 7 is asking us to find median. So remember our rule for median is n plus 1 divided by 2 to tell us which position the median falls in. So n is how many pieces of data I have, which is 40 in this case. If I add together all my frequencies, that gives me 40 in total. So I need to do 40 add 1 divided by 2. So 41 divided by 2 is 20.5. So my median is halfway between my 20th number and my 21st number. So I need to count through my data until I get to my 20th and my 21st. So I start with 4 pieces of data. So I've written down 4 pieces of data so far. I then add on the next 8 pieces of data. So now so far I've written down 12, or I've got 12 pieces of data. I need to keep going till I get to the 20th. So I then add on the 7. So I've now got 19 pieces of data in total. So the 20th piece of data I would have written down would be in this category here, and the 21st would also be in that category. So because they're both in that category, my median falls in that category there, the 150 up to 200 category. So question number 8. Modal class. This just means the mode, the most common category that we've got. So to find the mode from a table, we look down our frequency and find the highest frequency. The highest frequency is 44. So the modal class, the most common category, is the 400 to 500 category. Question 9 is asking us to find out estimated mean from a grouped frequency table. So question 6 was calculating mean from a normal frequency table. So in question 6 we did the first column multiplied by the second column and then added all my answers up. If you can't remember why we did that, check back at question 6 for that. So ideally what we want to be doing here is we want to be able to multiply this first column by the second column. But my first column has a range of values in it. So we want to think of a sensible guess for the values in this first box. So the distances are between 0 and 5. So a sensible kind of estimate for those would be halfway between those two numbers, which is 2.5. For the second one then, again, we need to think of a sensible estimate for those values there. So halfway between 5 and 10 would be 7.5, which is why we calculate the midpoints here, because we have a range of values and we need to think of a sensible value to use. We then need to multiply these two columns together and add those up. This value here then at the bottom is giving me effectively what all of my scores or all of my distances added up together are. I would then normally do all of my distances added together divided by how many pieces of data I've got. So how many pieces of data I've got is my frequencies added together, which is 100. So I've then done 940 divided by 100, which has given me 9.4. No need to round your answer for that one. Starting by calculating our mean then for question 10. So mean, I need to add together all my scores and divide them by how many pieces of data there are. So for that we should have got 79.4. Median, then I've ordered my data and found the middle number, which is 74, and my mode is the most common value, which is 70. Then asks us to think about which average is would be best to describe the scores and why. Okay, so within my data, I have got an anomaly here of 114. That's very different to all my other scores. Now, my mean is affected by this anomaly here because it's part of this calculation. So this mean here is probably higher than we'd expect it to be because it's been pulled higher by the fact that I have one very high score there. So mean probably isn't a good one to use. Thinking about my mode is very low within my data just because two of the people happen to both score 70. My mode probably isn't a fair representation of the scores of the team. Okay, it's been pulled quite low because it happened to be that two of them got that score. So mode probably isn't a brilliant one to use. Median is good to use, especially when you've got a very large or very small anomaly, because a median isn't affected by that. So median would be your best average to use there.